Hey guys! Today I'm here with my second top 5 video. Let me know down below how you're liking the series and if you would like me to continue it. Today I wanted to talk about my top 5 favorite middle grade novels. I know a lot of BookTube reads young adult, but sometimes middle grade can be quite similar to young adult, but it gets forgotten a lot. And I think a lot of people don't realize that middle grade novels can have just as much emotional depth and maturity, and also be just as fun as young adult or adult novels. The first book I wanted to talk to you about is The Circle of Magic series by Tamora Pierce. This is a middle grade fantasy series about 4 10-year-olds who are discovered to have a sort of elemental magic. Together they form a bond and learn how to use their magic under the tutelage of their 2 teachers, Rosethorn and Lark. These books were so fun. As the series progresses, they do get out of middle grade a bit and just into straight young adult as they age, but the first 4 books in the Circle of Magic series is middle grade, but this series is perfect for 10-year-olds or around that age who are just getting into reading and maybe want to try some fantasy. It's a really sweet series about 4 kids who are sort of outcasts in their home, and together they form the bonds of friendship and get through life. I love these books, and I've read them so many times even as an adult. The next book I wanted to talk about is A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Mass. I'm sure a lot of people have already read this book. It's one of my favorite books. It's so beautiful. I absolutely adore it. It's about a middle school kid who has synesthesia, which means her senses are sort of mixed. When she hears sound, she might also see a color to go along with that sound, so someone's name might have a certain colors or a certain design to it. The senses as a whole just mix together in certain ways. And this is a real condition. I'm not sure how realistic this book portrays it, but the book itself is beautiful. I don't want to talk too much about what happens, but it's a lot about grief as her grandfather dies. She sort of deals with her grief, missing her grandfather who she was very close to, and her synesthesia because she thinks if she tells someone, they'll think she's broken or weird, which as a middle schooler, that's one of the worst things you could be. It makes me cry every time I read it, even as an adult. I adore it, and I would highly recommend it to anyone, regardless of age, especially to children, but even to adults. I think this is a very worthwhile read. It's very beautiful, it's very touching. I'm not a big crier when it comes to books, but this book makes me ugly cry. The next book is something that I grew up on, and I'm sure a lot of other people did, and that is The Hardy Boys. I have various series and editions of The Hardy Boys, including the regular ones, the Case Files, and these, which are the Undercover Brothers. These are sort of new, revamped Hardy Boys for the 21st century. They have a lot of new gadgets. They work for an agency called ATTACK, which is American Teens Against Crime. It's very fun. It's very light. I have about the entire series on my shelf, and I adored them when I was 10 years old. And I think most 10-year-olds would. There's just enough action to keep them interesting and enough character development for it to mean something. I would highly recommend these to anyone with a middle grade age child. And I believe the regular series would be better for adults who are trying to get into Hardy Boys. The Undercover Brother series will always have a special place in my heart. The next middle grade book I have to talk to you guys about is The Secret Life of Jena Joong by Dory Jones Yang. This is about a 10-year-old Chinese girl who moves to America, and she deals with selective mutism. She can't bring herself to talk in school, and because of this, a lot of people think that she's not learning, or that she's stupid, or she doesn't understand the language at all. Even though her English is getting significantly better, she feels very bullied and very isolated as she's the only Chinese student in her school and the only one who speaks her specific dialect. A lot of this is about her telling herself stories of Chinese heroes that she's created who oftentimes save her. There's a princess, there are Chinese villains, and it's a really beautiful story. She eventually does make friends, and it's a very touching story. I was always very emotional reading this, and this was one of my favorite books as a kid, and I feel like it's the kind of book that even as an adult I would appreciate it. It deals a lot with issues of identity and immigration and feeling very different from others around you, which I think is a common trait in middle grade books, because that's the age where kids start noticing their own differences and feeling incredibly isolated. And I think this is just a beautiful book. It does it so well. Jena is just a fantastic main character to follow through on this journey. The final book I have to talk to you guys about is maybe my favorite on this list. I saved the best for last, and that is The Ocean Within by V.M. Caldwell. This is actually a duology. It has a sequel called Tides, but this book is my favorite of the two. This is about an 11-year-old girl named Elizabeth who is a foster child. She's being fostered by this family called the Sheridans, and the foster parents have two kids of their own. One is older than Elizabeth and one is a few years younger. But this is about the summer where she goes to stay with her foster parents' mother, so her foster grandmother, with her two foster siblings, and the rest of the Sheridan family. The Sheridans are very loud, very noisy, very extroverted and outgoing, whereas Elizabeth is quieter and much more shy and introverted. She'd rather sit around and read than play sports with the rest of the family, and she feels very different and isolated. She does wind up bonding with the youngest member of the family, Petey, who is, I believe, 4, and the book follows her throughout the summer as she just waits for the Sheridans to send her back and realize that she's not one of them. And it is such a beautiful story. I cannot recommend this book enough to anyone who enjoys contemporaries. Regardless of age, this book has such emotional depth. It's perfect for middle schoolers or elementary schoolers. It is about that age group, and it is geared towards them. And it deals with a lot of deeper issues. Her parents have died, so she is in the foster system, and she has been bullied, and she does have a lot of abandonment issues. She's not led the happiest life, but it deals with these issues in such a sensitive and open way, without getting too dark or glossing over anything, that it's perfect for kids, but it has the emotional depth and maturity of an adult book, and I absolutely love it. I would highly, highly recommend this book to literally anyone. It's probably one of my favorite books, and I read it so many times as a kid, even growing up and as a teen, that my parents wound up just randomly buying this book for me, so I would stop bugging them to go to the library so I could pick up the specific book. It's that wonderful. Let me know down below what your favorite middle grade books are. I'm always interested to hear from you guys. Bye!